Have you ever ended the day feeling like you worked hard but somehow still felt like you failed? The laundry isn't finished, dinner wasn't what you planned, you missed your workout or your inbox is just overflowing and you still haven't returned that one text. What if the problem isn't that you're falling behind? What if you're just trying to keep every burner on high? If you're tired of people pleasing, caring too much, and wondering why peace still feels so hard to hold on to, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Lori, mom, former people pleaser, and your boundaries coach. Here we talk about how to protect your peace, set healthier boundaries, and get clear on what actually matters so that you can build a life that feels lighter, calmer, and more satisfying. So let's stop the chaos for a minute, moms, catch our breath, and get into this next episode. Hey friend, welcome back to Healthy Boundaries for Moms. I am your host, Lori Grimes, and over the last few episodes, we've been talking about the hidden cost of always being available. We've also been learning how to take the next right step instead of waiting for that perfect plan, and being willing to renegotiate when life changes. So make those changes that we need to so that we can keep moving on. And today I want to share a simple picture that I think ties all those ideas together, and it's called the 4-burner theory. So imagine your life is like a stove, okay? And it's got 4 burners, and the original illustration uses 4 areas of life, but as I thought about it, it kind of reminded me of something I've shared with you before. So we have our 4 pillars here at Healthy Boundaries for Moms, and our pillars here are boundaries, organization, relationships, and time management. And I don't really change those pillars around. They're part of the foundation of a healthy life. But just because they're always important doesn't mean that I need the same amount of attention every day or in every season. So that's where the burners come in, okay? Some seasons require one burner to be on high while another moves to maybe medium or even low. And it not because it's not important, but because we're human, guys. We are human. So in Ecclesiastes 3:1 it says, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens." God never designed every season to look the same. And I'm so grateful that he hasn't, because I honestly love each season. And I love when it changes to the new season because it's fresh. And some seasons are for planting while we harvest in other seasons. Some of our seasons are for building, right? And some of our seasons are for resting. So wisdom is recognizing which season you're in instead of expecting yourself to live every single season the same way. So a lot of our stress comes from fighting the season we're actually in, right? We're gritting our teeth, we're holding on tight, we're grasping, we're holding on, and we keep measuring ourselves by what we were able to do last month or last year before the kids were home or before whatever new season that we find ourselves in. We think, I should be able to keep up. But maybe the question isn't, how do I keep doing everything exactly the same? No, maybe the better question is, what needs to change so that I can remain faithful without running myself into the ground, right? So sometimes one area of our life simply just needs more attention. Maybe you're caring for a sick family member, or maybe you've started a new job, or your child is struggling, or maybe just your marriage needs some extra attention right now, or your health just needs to be a priority for a season. And when a burner is on high, it means that that area just needs more of your time and attention, or some emotional energy right now. But high doesn't mean it's more valuable, and it doesn't mean that every area should control your whole life. No. And it definitely doesn't mean that it's going to stay on high forever. It just means that in this season, it just needs more from you. So I think a lot of us struggle with the idea of keeping something on medium, right? We're like black or white thinking. We've convinced ourselves that if we're not giving that 100%, we're somehow failing, right? But medium is often where healthy, sustainable living actually happens. Maybe your workout is 30 minutes instead of an hour. I shared that on the last podcast. That's what happened to me, and I still got my workout in, and it wasn't the end of the world. Maybe dinner is simple instead of homemade from scratch. Maybe you're just throwing something into the oven that was frozen, or we're just gonna do a pizza night. Just make it simple. Maybe your house is clean enough instead of having this Pinteresty perfect magazine ready house, right? Maybe your business is just growing one faithful step at a time instead of running at full speed. And maybe you don't complete the entire list that you've made, but you finish a few things that really matter to you. That's not settling, okay, guys? That's sustainability. Medium says, I'm still showing up, but I'm adjusting the intensity here. It allows us to remain consistent with, again, not demanding this perfection that we want to do all the time, okay? So let's talk about the low setting, because this is where I think a lot of moms get caught up in that guilt. Because low doesn't mean that you're quitting, guys. It doesn't mean that you've even stopped caring. It just means that you're intentionally maintaining something while another area needs more attention. So a low burner may mean that for now you're just doing the minimum needed to keep something healthy and moving forward. You haven't abandoned it. You've just simply adjusted your expectations, and that can be one of the most healthiest boundaries we could create, not just with other people, but with ourselves. So a while back, I had to do this in my own life. Originally, I had planned to do this workout whenever my son and his friends were going to go to the gym. And for a while it worked. I shared this on one of the last podcasts, and their schedules just became crazy, like unpredictable. Sometimes they were going, sometimes they were staying, and it really cost me my time in the gym, and I wasn't taking care of my own health at that point. So I renegotiated it. Instead of trying to force the original plan and just sticking hard to that plan, I started going to the gym in the mornings and, again, taking my walks before the day got busy. I prioritized them. And the value didn't change, just my strategy did. And I've had to do the same things even with this podcast. So with my kids at home for the summer, my normal recording schedule has just not always been the way it was prior to summer. And I've had to be realistic. I've had to adjust my expectations about when I record and when the episodes are going to be edited and exactly when I'm able to publish them. But some of these episodes have come out later in the day. Like, I'm recording late on this Monday and they're still getting out. And a few years ago, I probably would have stressed myself out over that. And I would have felt guilty or bad that I didn't do it when I was doing it before. And I would have focused on the fact that the episode wasn't published at this exact originally planned time. I might have told myself something like I was behind or I'm just not consistent enough. But now I'm reminding myself of what is actually most important, which is I'm still showing up. I'm still recording. I'm still getting these episodes out on Mondays and Wednesdays. The expectation has changed, but the commitment, guys, it didn't change. And that is the difference between renegotiating and just giving up. Okay, I didn't stop caring about the podcast and I didn't abandon the commitment I made to my listeners. I just adjusted the process so it would work within this season that my family and I were actually living in real life. And I think that's a lesson many of us just need to hear. Healthy boundaries are not always about lowering our standards. Sometimes they're just making our expectations realistic so that we can remain faithful instead of burning ourselves out, just trying to be perfect all the time. This is how the 4 burners can work with the 4 pillars we talked about here. So the pillars are what support your life: boundaries, organization, relationship, and time management. The pillars are not going to just disappear when life gets busy, right? But the amount of energy you give to each one may change. One week, your relationships may need to be on high because your child needs more support right now. Or organization may need to stay on medium. You're keeping the household running, but you're not reorganizing every closet. Or a work or personal project may need to remain on low, right? You're keeping it alive, but you aren't pushing for rapid growth. And your boundaries may need to be turned up because protecting your time and energy is what is allowing everything else to function. So the goal is not to keep every burner on high. The goal is just to choose the heat intentionally for each of those burners. So it can help to define these levels before the week begins. Like high will mean the area that you're going to be most focused with most attention and your best energy. And medium is going to be where you're staying consistent, but you're simplifying the expectations. Again, low is going to be just maintaining that area. It's going to be minimum effective effort until that season changes. So the problem comes when we don't choose intentionally, right? We just let every request through, every interruption, every unexpected change to turn another burner up, right? The world loves to do that to us. But before long, everything's boiling over, right? We've got 400 things going on and the pot's boiling over. And that's why healthy boundaries require us to stop and ask, what really needs my attention right now? What can be simplified here and what can wait? And what expectation needs to be renegotiated? Sometimes, guys, we stay committed to the original plan simply because we feel guilty changing it, because we said we would do it this way on this day and at this time, but then circumstances changed. Your energy changed, or your family's needs are changing and the season changed. But renegotiating does not mean you were wrong to make the original plan. No, we need to make our plans. We don't always know how things are going to change. It just means that you are wise enough to recognize that the plan needs to support your life and not control it, okay? You can keep the value while changing the strategy, or you can keep the commitment while changing the expectation. You can remain faithful without forcing yourself to perform at that same level in every season. So these are the questions I want you to think about this week and ask yourself, which pillar needs to be on high right now? Which one could we move to medium with simpler expectations? How can I simplify it? Which one simply needs to be maintained on low for the season, like on the back burner? What commitment still matters to me? And what part of the expectation or process can be renegotiated? And finally, ask yourself, what expectation am I carrying that God never actually asked me to carry? This question I put a lot here on this podcast because I think it's constantly a question I ask myself, and it helps me to check what I'm carrying. So maybe you're demanding that you do everything perfect. Maybe you're measuring consistency by the exact time something gets completed instead of whether you remained faithful. Give yourself credit for remaining faithful. Maybe you're expecting yourself to perform like you're in a completely different season of life. You are allowed, my friend, to adjust that heat. So, healthy boundaries aren't only about saying no to other people. Sometimes they're about saying no to these impossible expectations you place on yourself. Your pillars don't need to change. Your values don't need to change, but your strategy can, and the expectation can change while the commitment is still remaining. That's not a failure, guys. That's wisdom. So this week, instead of trying to keep every burner turned up all the way, give yourself permission to decide what needs to be on high, what can remain on medium, and what can safely stay on this low back burner for now. Because when we stop chasing perfection and start living with intention, we are making room for more peace and more purpose and more freedom. Hey friend, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds and go join our free Facebook page at Healthy Boundaries for Moms? That's where we go deeper, share what's actually working, and support each other in real life. I will also share some great tools and tips to help you along this journey. I have also included a link to sign up for our brand new weekly newsletter in the Facebook group. Don't forget to hit follow and leave a quick review on Apple. It really lets me know that this podcast is helping you. More importantly, it helps more women find this podcast. Now go, say no to something that's stealing your peace and say yes to something you actually need. And I'll meet you back here in the next episode.